Once again, happy to be back in the studio. And I always said this, I always love having my guests also join me in the studio because it's a different feel, it's a different vibe altogether when you are with the person in person. And I think conversation just get better. So today I have a very lovely gentleman. I always appreciate my guests who take the extra effort of traveling, across maybe two different trains or two different train lines and come all the way. But not just that, he's been in Mumbai football for almost decade. I can say that now.
More than
More
that?
than that,
Yeah.
yeah. I just didn't want to make you sound old.
Yes, of course.
So,
I'm graying, so
but Agnelo Fernandes, very lovingly called Aggie. I'm sure. I think most of them out there who are in the Mumbai football may not know you as Agnelo, right? They may only know
absolutely.
you as Aggie. Or I really love the description, Gungru Balwala,
Yeah. And
the curly hair.
I'll tell you more about my name
Yeah.
later.
So Agnelo Fernandes is the technical director at Thane City FC, a club that's making all the right noises in the city, not just in Thane but all across Bombay as well for the work that they do. So I thought let me just get him. I would have loved to have Nathan sir as well, but I think instead of delaying things, we thought we'll just first go with Aggie here, and we'll just get to know a little bit about him. And I'm sure most of us know, but I think I want people across following Indian football to know you as well. So, Agnolo, thank you so much, Coach. Welcome to the show.
Thank you, Siju, for inviting, and it's a pleasure to be traveling all the way from Thane. As you said, changing two trains, but it was not that bad. And being here spot on time to roll over. So thank
Great.
you for having me over here.
No worries. Thank you so much. Let's start with a bit about you, right? I know when you asked me, are you going to give me some questions that I can go through? To all my guests, even in the future, I don't give questions because we just talk, we just have conversation, right? Can you tell me a bit about you? I'm sure you also played, right? Give us a glimpse into your early days of playing and how you got into the coaching side of things.
Yeah, firstly, again, once again, thank you for having me on this show. It's a pleasure to be speaking about my experiences because we had so many experiences in life, and we learn mostly through our own experiences as well as the experiences of others through the sources of reading books or maybe YouTube or maybe now trending Instagram and so on and so forth. And also knowing and connecting with people through various social media platforms, LinkedIn as well. And yes, my journey also had begun from a small child who wanted to play football, but because of monetary issues back home, since we were a family of four children, and my dad used to be working at the metal box Worley, and he then quit his job, or maybe he was let go of his job, and with the money that he had, he invested in putting two stalls, and that's what he was fondly known as the soda wala uncle, because he used to sell a lot of cold drinks and stuff, and it was very well known back home where I live in Vikroli, Kanamanagar. And since there my journey began, and I was very keen on football, but I did not have the right path or the right guidance to go to that place where football would be taught. So I was an alumni of St. Joseph's High School, Vikroli, and I proudly say that because there where I was introduced to football, and I fondly remember all my PE teachers over there. David sir during my primary section, and then later on when I started growing up and understood more about football, there's where Pinto sir, God bless his soul, he's no longer in this world, but then he was an inspiration to all of us, not only me, to the entire school, because of his physique and the way he used to keep himself well trimmed, well mannered, and also the stature that he had, well built person. I'm sure he might be doing his workouts. So that was an inspiration, and that's how he picked me up from school. He scouted me the first thing, and since we were not, like, even those days, the fees were around 30 rupees, and my family could not afford. And when my family was just like, okay, what can we do about this? And then later on, we got to know the coach, that is Napoleon sir. I fondly am in touch with him, and I send him greetings during like the Teachers' Day or Guru Purnima, because those were our mentors during those days and are still our mentors and a go-to person just in case we need something. And they picked me up from school and they nurtured me, even getting scholarships regarding the boots that we used to wear during those times, and maybe from the school as well we had a good backup. And that's from there onwards. I remember I was around 12 years old and I was selected for the under 14 team, and since then my journey began. And from there I after schooling I went to Khalsa College, and it happened we I just met a friend. He said I took admission in Khalsa College, and I said okay, why should I not try? And then he said yes, try. And then I went there, even got on the field to show them my skills. That was a test then, and then through sports quota I got admissions over there, and I was truly blessed having chosen Khalsa College. And then later on I represented Mumbai University, and there were university teams as well from 1997 onwards till 2000. And that's how my footballing journey began, with Trade India team giving me the first opportunity. And from there on, then I moved on to playing for the Dockyard team as well. Yeah, and also for the so-called Mumbai Port Trust. Later on, I went ahead to play for Union Bank of India, and from there I was always aspirational to play for Central Railway, because when during the university team camp, and it was announced that okay, Central Railway team would be coming to play, and we were like all not very thrilled, because Central Railway was at that time playing the tiki taka game that we call today, where we know under Johan Cruyff or Coach Cruyff, and the total football that we invented. And then later on, Pep Guardiola became famous for the tiki taka football. And since there, my aspiration was to play for Central Railway because of the possession football that they used to play. And like we always used to panic when it was railways, because we knew that we would be running a lot and rather getting the ball. And
Yeah.
then from there onwards, I joined the railways. In 2001, I got the opportunity through university. We came runners up in the year 1999. And that time Abhishek Yadav was alongside me, and we played amazing brand of football. And I remember fondly my teammates Jinto Jose, Hikmat Singh, who still are playing, and then Abhishek Yadav, and then we had Shrikant Naik, and so many football players who later on turned, and also my very good friend since then, Padam Bahadur. So we hang out together, and that's where football became very common, and that's where I kicked on my journey. And then later on, I got into um, uh, to railways as an employee, and
Right.
from there, yeah, from there after serving the railways for 10 years, I decided I want to do something for football. I want to do something with children and be associated with children. So I quit my job in 2011, and then I joined the American School of Bombay. There, it was a unique experience of a school again. So I finished my education, but then I got back to a school where I thought that yes, my education is still left, and there is where I learned a lot of things through the American School of Bombay. And the staff was so supportive. The head of school, my principals out there, I would like to thank them for the contribution that they had in my life. And I was also associated with Football School of India, the academy I was with as a technical director. And then after maybe 11 years, then I got an opportunity with Thane City Football Club to join in as a technical director and move into completely into football.
Right.
So
Now, you've seen, like, you've also not just seen but participated in the whole scene that we talk about, the Mumbai football,
yeah,
right? The Mumbai football culture, which today we are, I think the kids these days, or even from my generation onwards, we haven't seen that glory days, the football culture in Bombay that it had. With me, it was like when I started off watching football locally, the Air Indias were still there, ONGCs were still there. Mahindra had just closed down. So the railways were a team to beat,
Yeah,
and like you said, there were so many others who would always say that we want to be part of the railways. Even there was an Indian Navy team as well, that
absolutely.
did really well. So from then and now, if you had to just look at, because you are the heart and soul part, you've been part of the Bombay football scene for so long, played now as contributing as an administrator. What do you see? What has changed? And do you see why do you think there was a dearth of football in somewhere in the middle? And slowly now we see picking it up with ISL coming back, with some academies doing well, Mumbai City there. But why do you think that, it had completely died off? And we were talking about where is the scene of football in Bombay?
Having spoken about railways again, I would fondly remember my coaches, Mr. Agnelo Fernandes, Augusto de Silva, and also Kane Cracer. Having then the expertise of playing for Central Railway for many years, then moving on to becoming the coaches of that team. We have learned a lot from those coaches as well as the other coaches who we used to face, like teams like Mahindra, as you rightly brought memories back to me, Mr. Harish Rao, and also we have Henry Menezes. So looking at those coaches and also the Air India coach Bimal Ghosh and the RCF coach Baz Karmeti and so on from the Customs Sydney sir and so many great coaches. So looking at them, it was amazing to watch how they were more passionate about. And one more coach that comes to the coaches team that comes to my mind is from my Union Bank. During my days at Union Bank, so Julian De Silva, and then Putran sir, then we have Suresh Menden sir, who are still associated with football, and all the other coaches I played under. They had a sense of passion for the game. They were so passionate. They were willing to share the expertise within the team environment as well as on a personal front as well. So that touched my heart a lot. And then we rightly know that coach education has taken up since a long time in India, and we know how the passionate coaches turned the passion into profession and try to work on a lot of players, giving them the inputs and trying to go with them through the grind. And things have changed a lot since then. Like people have started realizing the importance of and value of coach education, and that's where we see new tactics, new strategies designed around teams. We have the data analyst as well, the video
Yeah.
analyst as well is very huge. And technology has taken us from point A to point, not even point B and C, is has taken us miles ahead, and it's going to be ever evolving. So we have to start living up to times. And I think the change and drift over there, I think that was when the coach education system came in, when technology started evolving. So I'm fortunate, and I tell everyone that I'm a bridge between the old old philosophy coaches and the new philosophy coaches, and I'm blessed that I'm the bridge because I know what was there in the past. So
Yeah.
we really appreciate what was there in the past because that's what is there for us to study, and we are also foreseeing what's going to happen in the future. So I'm truly blessed, and with the technology also, and I try to inculcate more and more of new ideas from our colleagues back home at Thane City FC and also all around India and around the globe. Also, the coach education system has been teaching us a lot of things, a lot of different parameters or assessment kind of thing or technology that has been involved. So I think there was a trend where people had to unlearn
Hmm.
and then learn new things. So
Right. And
anything,
that took time.
yes, always a learning curve.
Yeah.
So that's what we call in education. I was a physical education teacher at the American School of Bombay. So there's where we learned about learning curve, how it affects your performance, and then in order to unlearn some things, to learn new things. That's where when your performance tend to go down. But then later on, once you are used to it, so we also learn about repetitions of actions will lead to competencies
Hmm.
and confidence. So that's where later on, when the confidence and the competency develops, then that's where the curve tries to go up and you are learning new things. So I think there was this trend of the learning curve in between where the coaches from the past felt like, okay, their experiences led them to be coaches.
Yeah.
But then there's a vast difference between a player being a coach and then you getting educated as a player to getting objective references regarding how coaching has to be done, the soft skills that you develop in helping a player understand in a new dimension. So
Right.
I think that was the drift. And now with teams coming up, with so many teams coming up, our children are truly blessed that they have so many platforms and with a lot of knowledgeable and well educated coaches who are getting their certifications done either from the All India Football Federation, either from the Asian Football Confederation, or maybe the UEFA licenses. So
Yeah.
our children are truly blessed, and that change I think is just going to be going up and up.
I think that's a great point that you brought in, because now that I draw, it's also something probably I didn't expect, or that's a good point, because when I see that now, yeah, I think with all these certain clubs dying down or certain competitions that were there dying down, and you mentioned the introduction of the change that happened in even modern football that today we talk about, how it has to go ahead with the help of technology, with the help of science. We talk about sports scientists, we talk about fitness related stuff. The coaching staff only gets increase by number, right? Because everyone, you need an expert in that particular sense. So I think that was a great finesse point to add on, because maybe yes, when you look back at it, that's what kind of affected Bombay, in football in Bombay, and the also the readiness for people to kind of accept it and move on with it, right?
Yeah.
And you put it very perfectly, saying that you being the bridge, because you kind of know what's happened in the past, because you've seen and you've been trained under these expert coaches, and nothing to take away from them, because at a time when there was nothing available, they
Absolutely.
pulled off a great job, right? And
Absolutely.
then the upcoming ones, you see that as well. Now let's come to the current bit where you're at Thane City. What kind of excited you to take this role up? Because initially I remember, when Prashant started it and he was on the show talking about it, he meant that he was clear of the fact that we don't want a senior team as of now, right? We want to build
Very
that
true.
grassroots, and that's what we're all talking about, grassroots. Everyone's emphasizing on it finally, because that's where you build your champions and then you kind of grow. But for someone like you, who've been there, who probably at the topmost level of the coaching circle as well, what was it that excited you with Thane City FC? And because I don't think everyone readily accepts to get into an academy that doesn't have a top division club,
Right.
or doesn't have a club that kind of feeds into the whole system. So take us through your taking this role up and how this whole thing go about.
Again, I would just like to dwell in the past, like clubs like teams like Air India, like Mahindra, maybe Bombay Arrows, or so on and so forth. The teams that came up, sprung up, like Mumbai FC as well. And
Yeah.
then later on, they found it difficult to sustain themselves because here a huge investment is involved.
Yeah.
And for the investment, we need so kind of the sponsors who can back up what your plan is. And if the backup is continued and we see a good returns with a proper program in place.
Yeah.
So I would just lead from there onwards, because I think most of the clubs or academies, they had the vision, they had the structure, they wanted a senior team. But what I think affected them the most, I might be wrong, but what I think is affected them the most is a grassroots system where you have a feeder kind of a system,
Right.
where the pathway has been built right from the age of 5, when a child or when a parent enrolls a child for football. They have aspirations of, okay, becoming someone great in football. Some have aspirations, okay, they come in for fitness, or maybe some have aspirations, they want to develop themselves into a very nice person. So they have different aspirations when they join in. So again, how to design a pathway for them is very important. And I think we need to heavily invest in developing a pathway first, so that there is a sustainable system. And that's what at Thane City Football Club, as you rightly mentioned, when Prashant was here, he spoke about, we do not wish to have a so-called senior team as of now, but that is where we are trying to go to in the next 4 to 5 years down the line. We have a set pathway. We also have our goals and targets to achieve each year, that we are trying to build up or add something new to our existing arsenal. And Prashant will be happy here because I mentioned the word Arsenal, because that's his favorite team. And we are trying to add a lot of value with every year. So last year when we started off adding some things based on what our findings were, and then we studied what we need to connect, and slowly is just going to be an ongoing process. It cannot be a system where you say, okay, we have the best system in place.
Yeah.
So even we might not have the best system in place, but what we rightly believe, that we have the right resources, we have the right manpower in place to help us bridge the gaps and take us through. And also listening about Thane City FC, or maybe looking at what Thane City FC has achieved in the past 1.5 year post pandemic, when we started our operation, because pandemic everyone was it.
Yeah.
And so do we, because that's the time Thane City FC was just launched.
Yeah.
And then the pandemic struck.
Yeah.
And we all were caught in the same boat or ship, and we all sailed through. But yes, even then, Prashant Nathan sir kept Thane City FC going by adopting the coaches, starting with online sessions as the whole world did. But the main thing was the community that we have. So at Thane City FC, we are building on a community where we are backed up by a community, and that's what helped us to sustain during the lockdown period. The community who ensured that they would not leave our back, and still kept enrolling the children with the programs that we had to offer. And once the pandemic was like not even over, but restrictions were lifted up, we got back into full swing. During the pandemic, there was a lot work being done. That's what I heard. And also I see some of the resources that Prashant Nathan sir and team have developed during the pandemic. It's amazing that they invested so much time that was on hand.
Yeah.
And building a structure, building some policies, building a roadmap to where we want to go and what we want to achieve in each year. And that's what we have been religiously following. And our main part is the development of coaches. So we are focusing a lot on coach education. We are trying to not only provide workshops to these coaches, because workshops is just a one-off knowledge sharing platform, or maybe it can be happen continuously within our system. That's what we try to do. But constantly mentoring is something that you would want to adopt. So during workshop we learn a lot of things, but then once we come back from the workshop, there is hardly few percentage of what we learn during the workshop we keep implementing constantly.
Yeah.
So mentoring is something that we are constantly doing, and we are also capacity building with our senior coaches at our academy, upskilling them, constantly working with them, constantly working along with the coaches, in constantly monitoring them, in constantly offering feedback, the best practices that we can adopt, and brainstorming sessions, the collaborative sessions, what works well. Even at the role of being as a technical director over there, I also seek feedback from them.
Yeah.
It's not that it is my job and I'm perfect. So I share out a plan. Okay, is this going to work? Because the coaches are going out on the field.
Yeah.
They are interacting with the parents, with the children, with all the players, with latest technology as well. Maybe they get on the table that even I do not get, because they, as I mentioned, I'm the bridge. So they also are constantly on Instagram, on looking at YouTube videos, and they get a lot of ideas on the table as well, that
Yeah.
we adapt to it. And it's a whole process. We are not just a one-off thing. We try to take ideas, we try to absorb things, we try to keep them in high spirits, and design the sessions based on the reality.
Yeah.
So that's what the sustainable model we are trying to look up. And slowly, as I mentioned, we are having the children register from the age of 5,
Right.
and so on. And so we have our under 17, under 9, under 11s, under 13s, 15s, 17s. Now this year, Thane Football Association is has announced for a second division Thane League. So we have put in our team under 20 team in the second division of the Thane League. And since the past 2 years, we have been participating in the Super Division. In year one, we got promoted to Elite Division. And last year, since it was the first year of the Elite Division,
Yeah.
we were proud we are and also proud in announcing that we were the runners up in the first edition of the Elite Division challenge that we were promoted to.
Right.
And this year we are building up and aiming to have a strong team and trying to go further and further each passing year. So that is the sustainable model that we are trying to develop. So with minimum expenses towards our top senior or
Right.
elite team, and trying to utilize whatever the resources or funds that been generated through our sustainable grassroots model, providing the right education or providing the right knowledge sharing platform. And it's we are not only educating our players, we are also conducting workshops for parents as well,
Okay.
trying to educate them about different
Right.
aspects of football and getting them involved on the ground stuff, having some sessions with them. So where we are teaching them what their child goes through
Yeah.
when they are on the ground, and why yelling and shouting from the sidelines is not advisable, because there are a lot of emotions or a lot of football actions we need to consider while your child is playing, and then help the parent realize that, and then they feel really tired after the session, and then they say, okay, our children are going through a lot of things here. And again, that's the sustainable model that we are trying to build up upon at Thane City FC, right from the grassroots structure. And this year we have announced the development of our women's team or a girls team. So
Yeah.
right now we don't have a women's team, but then just like the boys model we started, or the male centric model that we had adapted. Of course, there were few girl child, and I appreciate the efforts of the parents for getting a girl child to the training ground, allowing them to train with the boys.
Yeah.
And that's how they are challenged and they are also developing. So now our boys, or maybe the male side, is on autopilot since the program that started
Yeah.
last year. We're building upon it. So this year we have announced the development of our girls team as well. So that's why we had our under 13s, under 15s, under 17s girls team participate in the Thane Youth League.
Yeah.
That was being conducted for the very first time. There were only 4 teams, participating teams this year in the girls tournament. And slowly, I think Thane Football Association, kudos to them for at least starting off the league with 4 teams. Now the other teams, who had not participated, have looked up to it and said, okay, maybe next year we would want to add up to the teams, and there is where the rise is. And kudos to Thane Football Association as well. They were struggling initially, and always whenever we start something new, we struggle to build up on something, but they've got a hang of it. And now I'm very glad to say that Thane Football Association has the 3 brand new grass pitches at the Center of Excellence at Kharghar.
Okay.
And even I don't think in Mumbai football we have grass pitches, except for the Andheri Stadium, and where not many are allowed. But then Thane Football Association is conducting their leagues for the under 15s, under 17s, the first division open team, as well as the super division team that is currently playing on grass pitches. Later on, there will be the second division starting, and then followed by the elite division. So we are very privileged of seeing our young players. During our days we played on grass, and now we are watching these
Yeah.
young players again get back to the grass fields, where there is always the turf culture coming in.
Yeah.
So we are so proud.
I just want to probably towards the end of our conversation now, just want to touch upon the women's and the girls' football, like probably the girls' football side, because even I work for an academy, and I think struggles are the fact that to get in more girls and to have a system in place for them. So from the grassroots we start, and then there's also like a dearth and a break where okay, we have it at the grassroots, but there's nothing in between where they are finally grown enough to play competitive matches, right? we do our best in terms of the academies does their best, but then there's nothing in between, and then suddenly there's a huge gap, and then a senior team, right? You either make it or break it.
Right.
Now we see with the under 17, because we were hosting a women's World Cup, we were like, okay, let's gather around under 17 girls team, and then the pandemic happened, and the way the it got delayed tournament, and then that set of girls could not play, not eligible to play at the under
Absolutely,
17,
it
right?
was.
So how does Thane City FC kind of deal with the challenge of bringing more girls participation? And you guys are also doing it quite well. It's not like you see a lot of participation. You see a lot of young girls coming out and playing. So what is it that kind of probably you speak to the parents, or what is it that convincing factor that you guys have to offer? Because certain things like, you need to have a female on the on the ground. You need to have someone from the staff on the ground. I also see, we were speaking about Siddharth before our show. I was talking to him and asking him what's the scene like, and he mentioned that many clubs who are getting into women's football are kind of going either the women to be a coach, the head coach, or the managers are women, if not the other way around, because it's a male
Right.
coach then. So how important are these small little things, intricacies? Because it's very easy for someone to sit back and say, oh, why aren't you starting a women's team? Oh, why aren't you starting a girls academy? So can you like probably maybe identify when you guys started, and now that you're starting a robust program, maybe identify certain challenges, and how do you kind of maneuver? So probably someone listening to it probably might also get educated about it.
Yeah, it's always. I've always been a part of the girls' teams as well, with my involvement with women football, right from Seaview Sports Club. And my wife is also a football player, and she used to be a part of the Seaview team during the heydays when they represent most of the players represented Maharashtra, and Seaview was a strong team to be playing against, and most of them are still connected. Yes, of course, they are their own families to look after. They got married, their own children. Even my wife, even after having our son, who's right now 8, she still wants to play or get involved into football, and she does not misses out on the opportunity if the friends get want to get together and start playing, or maybe if anyone calls to play for a tournament, she still takes up the opportunity. So for me, football and for women and for the girls, it's a big motivation from my wife, because she's been behind me for the development of football, and whatever I am trying to achieve in football, I give whole credit firstly to my parents for the upbringing, then my sisters who helped me a lot to learn a lot of value at home, even um, sweeping or mopping the floor, to even cleaning up the toilets or anything. So we started learning from them, and it's been a habit since then. Even till date, I don't feel ashamed to be sweeping or mopping the floor. And the the main essence of it being the woman behind us, maybe it's my mother, my sisters, my wife, they have been an inspiration. And getting involved into women's football, and from taking on from there, so we had this team CU, as I mentioned, and then from there on we started educating the girls, training the girls about all these different things. And then there was a time where I was too busy and involved in different things, so I had to let go of the women's team. And later on, now I am into full-fledged football, and also back at the American School of Bombay, I was involved in the girls program as well, and involving with the girls, or maybe inviting teams outside local teams to play with the girls at the American School of Bombay. So it was a great feeling to be involved in women's or girls football. And here at Thane City FC also, we are trying, since this is the year of our commitment to the development of girls football, we are, it's of course very challenging, because Mumbai football has been developed a lot. There are n number of teams participating into the girls YPL that is currently going on, and we envy that, because there's so many girls from the western suburbs, or maybe the central suburbs as well, who look up to the YPL
Yeah.
of playing a lot of competitive matches. So the system has been started and adapted at the Thane Football Association, with the inclusion of TYL for the girls just happened lately, and they announced it on time and they finished it on time. That once again, kudos to Sheetal ma'am, who's been driving this at the TFA, and of course with the support of Secretary Mr. Sunil Pujari as well and their team. So kudos to them. So we are also starting off at Thane City FC. Um, the education part, that yes, girls deserve the right to choose what they want to, and backed up with the parent community who are really getting the girl child for training.
Yeah.
So we have a nominal fees for the girl. Apart from the fees charged for the boys, we have a nominal fees charged for the girls, where we can get them in our training structure and get them on the field. Also, we have been tied up with NMMC schools, the Navi Mumbai Municipal Corporation schools. There's one school that we are tied up with, and who are allowing their students to come and travel all the way till Thane, just so that they can have a school exposure. And they've been doing brilliantly well. And they, at the DSO championship, I think they came runners up at that event. And then they later on started training with us at Thane City FC, and we were managed to get an under 17 team in place. And so many of them who are trying to understand that the girl, the needs of the girl child has to be met as well.
Yeah.
And they are opening up a new dimension. They're opening up their mindsets. The parents, kudos to the parents for allowing them, their girl child, to be playing football. And we've seen many role models with our women's national team as well, and with so many examples of how the struggle began to even kick the ball or maybe get out of the homes,
Yeah.
even after so many traumas that they may have faced from home. Fortunately, we do not experience all those things. And at Thane City FC, we are trying to involve a lot of girls to participate in the academy structure, give them the right education and training. Hats off to a team of coaches who are taking this forward, because it is not possible without their efforts. Again, we are trying to get involved with, as I rightly mentioned, with NMMC, and there are some other schools that we are targeting where we can get more girl child, or maybe more girls to participate from the schools. And recently we'll be shortly announcing of free sessions for the girls who would want to join us in our program, so
Right.
that at least we can help them aspire, or maybe help them reach their dream that they have, to
Right.
at least be active and playing a sport. It's
Yeah.
not only football related, maybe it can be anything, but through football we are trying to offer a free sessions to them. So that's slowly coming up.
Yeah. Now I get the idea that, in my concluding point, I would like to ask: we get the idea that Thane City is into robust system of building system of women's football and girls football, because just like they've kind of, like you mentioned, it's autopilot in the male centric side of things. That's one thing that everyone can look forward to from Thane City. What's the other thing that probably, what is Thane City up to now? What's coming? Also, this year is ending. There's a new year coming up. What have you set a goal for the next year or the coming season?
Yeah, as I mentioned, like the male side is gone on autopilot, and also for the girls, we had plans for we have still plans for them. And now, since the Thane Youth League is over, so we have started enrolling the girls into this mini tournaments, a 5-a-side or 7-a-side. So that has been happening for them. Of course, are not looking up to having a women's team as yet, because we are investing our time and efforts into the girls who would want to learn how to play football, and slowly they would be developing to
Yeah.
then join our senior teams. We had an opportunity to directly adopt a girls team into the IWL
Yeah.
qualifiers, but we thought about the pros and cons, and then we said we just don't dive in to just adopt something. We work towards building up to it.
Right.
So that's what we are trying to build up by educating or training these girls, and there'll be new girls coming up. And also we also have a technical tie up with Royal Rangers Football Club in Delhi, where some of the girls from their senior team or maybe even they are under 17s, under 15s, are already playing for the national teams. So Nathan sir, as you mentioned, that I'm also missing him besides me, because and also with Thane City FC as well, because from the past 1.5 2 months he's at Delhi working with those girls, developing up a system and structure. So and he's been involved in the women's football side of the girls football since many years, and he's a known figure out in the women's or the girls football arena within Mumbai and Thane. And there was no other person better than him who we could have sent to Delhi to develop the girls program over there. And he's doing an amazing job. And the Delhi League has just kicked off for the Royal Rangers senior team. And then the under 17s would be kicking off somewhere around end of November or in December. So
Right.
he's currently there and he's doing an amazing job. And at Thane City FC, we are trying to look out for an exchange program where the girls from Delhi would come to Thane
Right.
and spend their time with our girls,
Yeah.
and maybe the girls from Thane can be given an opportunity to go back to Delhi.
Yeah.
So that would be a kind of an exchange program which will help them keep be motivated, and more girls would want to enroll into our program, and that's what we can help to develop the ecosystem of and the contribution of girls into playing football in Thane.
Yeah.
Of course, it's a big challenge because again Thane is not yet that much developed, and we are trying to create a platform where players who are traveling all the way to Mumbai would get an opportunity to get the best of training facilities, apart from the recently our recent tie from last year with physiokinesis, a sports performance lab who does
Yeah.
a lot of who does a lot of awesome stuff. And there are the sports scientists over there, there are the amazing physios, and recently we have hired together we have had a strength and conditioning coach who is an associate who is working at the physiokinesis lab, as well as he is with us training our boys and also the girls and testing on different parameters. So we are trying to involve a lot of data integration as well. So data integration is this thing that we are currently come up with a WhatsApp web bot, right? WhatsApp bot that we get, and a lot of technology has been integrated with Thane City FC as well. So my role at the American School of Bombay, where technology was huge there for where the students were being educated a lot of technology and adapted a lot of technology around the world. Same with Thane City FC. I don't feel that we are far behind, and we are the leaders in adopting technology quickly. And that's what we are trying to educate our coaches, our players, and we are integrating a lot of technology into our system. And we can say that we are adopting technology to take us where we want to go in the next year's time.
Well, I think that's a great way to sum it up, and kind of walking with what is available and using that to your best so that you can better everything around you, instead of saying, we don't want to do this, stick to our old school. But it's like certain methods and also certain new age stuff that's there, and mixing it up for a better output of product. So, Aggie, Agnelo Fernandes, coach, thank you so much for this time, and I hope you had great fun doing this and exchanging ideas. I think this was more of informative as well, because you are from the technical side as well as as a player and then a coach, and proper thoroughly into it as a TD, right? It's a role kind of changes over the period of years, and all the very best in everything that is going to come up and what you're trying to do at Thane City. I hope more clubs and academies like this also kind of propose and take up this idea of you don't have to always field a club, but have a feeder system as well, and slowly get there. It's all about developing players at that age. So thank you so much for your time.
Absolutely. It is a pleasure. Once again, Siju, thank you for inviting me over here so that I can share our views at Thane City FC and give it as a tool for others. It's just an additional resource if they would want to use it for their for developing the ecosystem and of course we are providing a lot of employment opportunities as well
Yeah.
for coaches or maybe any other positions that rightly has come up. Football has come up a long way, and sports in particular, like there are so many different fields where each one can aspire to be connected with football and still have that passion to be working
Yeah.
through with sports. Thank you for giving me the opportunity for coming and sharing all these thoughts. And it was wonderful being here with the conversation that is involved in sharing my 2 cents for
Yes.
the world to ponder over, and
Absolutely.
maybe I can learn few things from them as well.
Well, you can reach out to Coach Aggie. He's available and is active on LinkedIn. If, like he mentioned, there are professional opportunities that they're also available as coaches and different roles. So don't. I will have a link, attached in my description where you can reach out to him. So do connect with him. Feel free to get on a chat with him. I'm sure he's always approachable in that way. And if you're from Bombay and Thane looking for a place, I don't think it's a better way to start.
Anywhere in
Yeah.
India.
So thank you so much once again, and to all the lovely listeners. I hope you enjoyed this. I think it was a bit of good amount of knowledge and fun stories. And I also like to take away one point, like how you were kind of every statement that you started or every answer that you took, you always had certain people to thank. It's always so humbling to know to never forget where you came from or forget the people that helped along the way. So it's a very kind of inspired of you, and I'm sure I hope you reach out. I hope you share this episode with all of them so they get to hear you speak as well. But to all the lovely listeners, again, thank you so much for listening. And we are a podcast called the Total Indian Football Show, available on all the audio leading platforms. So thank you once again. This is me, Siju, signing off. Bye.